Hi, Pastor.
Yeah.
Could you teach me how you started your church and then multiplied those services to some 40 services now in the city? Do you have to maintain a father-sonship relationship? How do you maintain the vision? And if you could build one large congregation, would you pull everybody back together?
Okay. Now, that's a very good question. Now, let me say that God pushed me to the point where I had to do that, having churches all over the city. The first situation that pushed me to it was I started this church in Kiev with 7 people, and here we are in 3 years' time, we were 3,000 people. And of course, you know my story. The first 4 years, I couldn't have one person, one white person. But when God gave me the strategy already, that go for the down and out, in the next 3 years, we're 3,000. Then all hell broke loose. Then the government wanted to destroy me because I become a threat. Gathering so many people in a city, in one place here, they see you as a revolutionary threat, as a political threat. So, and everybody began to point at me, saying that I was the one pulling all this crowd. So on one hand, half of the people were saying he must be a really gifted person, talented person, and they were looking at me like a superstar. On the other hand, the government was saying if we could eliminate him, we'll get rid of this movement. So on one hand, my people were seeing me as a superstar. I had a problem with that because that was going to put me on the pedestal, which is good for me, but I knew it would be a deterrent eventually to what God was calling me to do for them. So I needed to prove to them that I was not special, that I was not especially anointed, that I was not better than them, that they could actually do as much as I could do. So on one hand. On the other hand, the government wanted to destroy me, eliminate me. And I needed to do something quick to prove to the government that it's not about me, it's about Jesus. That same Jesus could be in him, and still do the same thing. So when we were 3,000, I began to say, then God spoke to me that I made sure that you got into that situation so that I might teach you another secret of greatness. That you are not great yet as long as you are the only one pulling all this crowd by yourself. That your greatness will begin when your people who are sitting down there listening to you now will be able to pull the same crowd or be able to do the same thing. Yeah. So I started intensive leadership training, pastors training, ministers training, missions training. In 1 week, I was teaching my people, the radical ones. I began to pour myself into them. I was spending the minimum of 12 hours with my leaders every week. Minimum of 12 hours for the next 5 years. So in the next 5 years, I had produced at least about 30 key leaders that were so good that I could use them to plant churches, and whereby I will still have a meeting. I will be having, I'm the senior pastor, I'm their pastor, but I made sure that I taught them as much as I did, that I impacted my abilities and gifts into them, that I will be having a meeting in one room, and one auditorium, and they will be renting other auditorium in the city, and people who are used to coming to me will still go to them, to all these 7 places, and not feel they are losing anything. So that way, right now, only 40% or 30% of all our members in Kiev, maybe actually 20%, come to the central church where I preach. The rest of the 80%, they are all scattered among my children. That is my pride. Now, answering the second question, that is my pride because on one hand, if we had been gathering here every Sunday, it would have been too small. So, but that's not a big deal. I could have second meeting or something like that. But that is failure on my side. If I were the superhero and doing all the miracles and gathering all the crowd and having a big ego, but that would still have been failure. So, but now we're having 40 services in 30 auditoriums of little Sundays. So I don't attract a lot of crowd at one time to intimidate the government. Then I still have churches gathering together at the time when I'm gathering some thousands here. Others are gathering hundreds or thousands all over the city, and they are good. So if they eliminate me, people will still keep on going to those ones, because even when I was around, they were still going to them anyway.
And they won't eliminate you.
They won't eliminate me. You're right. So now, how do you maintain the unity of the Spirit? That is very key, because when you do that, everybody was telling me that because the way I started this church is we had 3,000, then I pull out 200 and gave it to one of my the first one. I pull out another 200, gave to another one. Pull out another 300, gave to another one. Pull out another 500, gave to another one. And I was thinking, hey, this was going to shrink, this was going down, this was going to go, but it never did. God is faithful. The more I was giving out, the more we were increasing. We were 3,000 now, we are 25,000 in one city. Yeah. Not all of them are equally as gifted, but still, we are no more 3,000, and we were just 3,000 when we started. But then I've been multiplied. I've been multiplied. Anyway, but how do we maintain the Spirit, the unity of the Spirit? Number one, I will meet, especially before I began to travel extensively, I will meet with my pastors, all these my senior pastors in the city. I will meet with them at least, I used to meet with them twice, every Tuesday, every Wednesday, for 5 hours each. So 10 hours every week. Then they go back to their churches and hold their own services. Then apart from that, I also had other meetings with them. So I did that for like 6 years. 10 hours with them every week. Training, teaching them, and imparting to them. But apart from that, we still had a general combined meetings once a month. We still have that up till now. So all these churches come, not all their members come, but at least the core of those churches come together once in a month, and the pastors. So they are able to listen to the senior pastor. That's how we maintain the unity. If we build our building, we will not bring everyone back. We will believe God by faith that God will fill that other building.